Hot diggity daffodil. Let's do. All right, that's the third time I've used that. Sorry. Hot damn. Let's do the last class here. So tonight we're going to make a plush dinosaur as an example. So all around this project, yes, you can make basically whatever you please animal wise with accessories, sure. But remember that Fusion is not geared toward hyper detail. Yes, you can get some detail, but we're thinking much more like general rounded detail. So that's the whole point of making something that is more like a plush animal. Think of it roundy, fluffy, possibly squishy, with potential the intention for anybody who would like to print in either the flexible resin or just in some material or some filament, that sort of thing. So that's the idea. But what I want to do is just go through how to attach some things. So to give you a better idea of how you might better express your project. So let me hop over to Fusion. And as an example, I have this kind of somewhat crested dinosaur thingy that I made an example another time. But the main thing I wanted to show y'all is, yeah, we kind of get the same idea of how to make like the head, the tail, and all that such, like we did for the duck, but how to go about attaching or making things like legs. Now, for the duck, yeah, we could easily just have extruded this out and made legs, but sometimes making making everything stretched out of a single object gets to be kind of a pain and somewhat unnecessary. So tonight I want to show you how to join other elements together, largely using the bridge tool, um, and then show you how to make some details and things like that. All right, so start a new project. First things first, yield savey save. Example, Party Dino. Indeed. So let's bring in the canvas. Open from the computer. Say okay. And it is a devastatingly adorable dinosaur. For scale, we'll go ahead and recalibrate. So right click on the canvas, calibrate, pick a couple spots, top of the head, bottom of the bum, 12 millimeters. That's kind of tiny. So let's at least bump that up to 120. Giganto dinosaur, same diff. Okay. Now, granted, yeah, we would probably going to put a little bit extra detail in it, kind of like this one, but somewhere in between, probably fine. But you know, it's got little adorable arms and legs, and there we go, and some little spines. So cool. So something like this, where would you start? Well, we can kind of approach the same thing like before, in that obviously we're going to start with create form, bring into the form environment. You could start with a sphere, quad ball, whatever kind of makes sense. That might actually be the better approach for this one. And remember, you can start from multiple bodies and join them together. That can make sense too. So in this case, I might do that just for example wise. So I'm going to start with a quad ball. The difference here being same deal, pick a spot, pick a plane, drawing it out. Quad ball simply being that instead of a sphere that's more like a globe, longitude, latitude, this is essentially a cube that has been inflated into a ball. You can see that's how it's broken up into essentially like the sides, top, right, left, and all that such. Might as well apply symmetry, mirror across, where, height, yep, that's exactly what I want. Side to side, left and right. The green line denotes where that's going to be. Okay, sounds good, looks good. Might have been a little bit large. I might have to scale that down. Not a problem. What we can, of course, do, we could do that even in the edit form tool. Select the whole thing. So just do a full selection box over all the things. And remember using the central arrow with the three arrows around. Grab that, drag it down, and that's a uniform scale. So I can bring it down that way. I can control it a little bit more effectively that way. So since I was already in edit form, go ahead and keep playing with that, and we'll stretch some stuff out. Do a selection box instead of from the right, drag there. And this is a lot of this is very much just going to be kind of sort of pulling things into what seems to be about the right spot. Oops, drag from the bottom. There we are. Something sort of kind of. Now, again, however you're doing side to side, that's fine. Now, right now, I'm going to ignore the spines and things like that. And we're just going to work this. Now, like I said, you can absolutely say like connect two bodies, anything like that. But for this, I'm going to use a selection box and press and hold Alt to extrude downward. Now, don't forget, you cannot just select, even though it is symmetrical, if you just select the faces, press and hold Alt to extrude, you're going to get this split and you're going to get this little dino butt thing going. So don't do that. What you need to do, make sure that you're selecting both the faces as well as the edge, the line between. So if you do a select all, so drag from the right and the blue dotted box with the yellow inset, select there, it grabs both the faces as well as the line. If anything, just make sure that you have the select all option in the toolbox and you can do this. Now, when I press and hold Alt and I can just pan down, no dino butt. All right. So frankly, this could work just fine. I could just drag this whole thing down. We could split this up even more. But because of where this is, I don't want to overextend this one form. I can still going to drag this out a little bit. Press and hold Alt again and just kind of drag some down. Realistically, this might have been better to have made this in two separate bodies. Don't know. But I'm going to use two separate bodies to make the legs and arms. So from here, just selecting around. That one looks like more like I'll need to rotate it a little bit. And again, so much of this is just going to be kind of try to get what looks about right. And we can always play more from there. Back here for the tail, make sure to do an all selection box. Press and hold Alt, dragging out. But let's scale that way down. Again, press and hold Alt, dragging out, and we'll do one more. Easiest way to control these kind of areas is switch to edge only and just select by that overall edge. You can either use a selection box, or if you double click on that edge line, it'll wrap your selection all the way around. Then you can use a scale tool and drag that up and down. And of course, if it's tall enough but too wide, use a scale tool and drag that way. Not a big deal. Pretty straightforward. Oops, I didn't grab the right one. From that one, it looks more like I need to grab the faces. Is that tool? There we go. Kind of sort of adorable little, it looks more like a chocolate dinosaur at the moment. So again, so much of this is just going to be playing around to get to where you want it to be, rotating some things, squishing around, all that sort of fun. Let's drag that out. There we go. Now, right now, I'm going to leave the arms and legs to a separate element, and we'll build that out afterwards. So just for the sake of time, that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll make the sides a little bit wider just to give the squishy plushy time. Now with this, I can use the drag outward, and they're both going to drag out away from one another because we have symmetry active. Playing with rotation, and there you go. So a lot of this, again, just play with it. Push and pull, twist, rotate, scale, all of that. Again, the only problem with all of this is you do not have a history slider to work back and forth with. So what I'd recommend is if you're working with like a single body, like this body that forms the head and body, finish everything in one go. That way, if you have to save, get up, close the program, open it somewhere else, at least that part is done, because you don't have, the only way you can move back and forth in history with right now is by using Control Z and Control Y, or if you're on Mac, Command Z, Command Y. Otherwise, you have no history slider. Okay, super duper. Let's save there. Dino body. And for the sake of coloring, I'm going to change color modes from appearance to auto color. So hold shift, press in. There we are. Now it's even more peep color. All right. So what I'm trying to do here, and I just hide that temporarily, is I want to make the arms and legs. Now, in this case, obviously, I'm only working from a single one-sided image, but kind of get the idea. So I could make these arms and legs, either try to extrude this out of the body, or might make more sense to make these separate entirely and then join them together. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So realistically, choose what seems the most appropriate form. And in that case, maybe it's another quad ball, maybe it's a cylinder. Remember that cylinders do not, by start, are just a cylinder the shell, the sides, there's not a top and bottom. You have to collapse them. So sometimes it is easier to work with something that's already finished, something like a sphere, and work from there. Totally up to you, all around. In this case, I'll go ahead and start with a sphere and show you how I'm going to manipulate that. All right. So in this one, instead of starting there, I'm going to start on the face plane. If you have trouble getting at it, just hide the first part. Right there, we select, super duper, and just kind of draw something. We're going to draw it to the side. And again, keep this simple. So let's dial that down to 6 faces. I could go further, but any lower, you get problematic. And it kind of gets squared off. But that might not be the worst thing in the world. In this one, I'm not going to bother with symmetry because I want to manipulate this one entirely, and then I'm going to make a mirrored copy of it on the other side. So I'm going to ignore symmetry here, and, we'll leave it. There we go. We'll keep it simple. We'll leave it exactly as it is there. Okay. Good enough. So where does that leg kind of start? Over here. So might as well kind of move this little guy into position, drag that over there, sort of kind of close enough. If you want, might as well rotate it sort of in a position. We're going to play with this thing a little bit more in a moment. All right. So from here, just start moving. Now the trick is, though, I have this at an angle. If you are trying to move something at an angle and each time drag it up and up and up, you're going to get some weird staggering. But what I mean by that is, all right, say I'm selecting here, select all the things, and you know what, just to make sure I don't accidentally start selecting this body back here, I'm going to hide the body of the body and just select from here. Well, what I mean by if I'm dragging each time, I have to kind of keep realigning everything. It might not be a bad idea to instead take this body, move again, and instead of rotating it ahead of time, leave it exactly as it was, and then modify it, and then rotate the whole thing in position afterwards. Honestly, it's just however you feel like working here. So I started it this way just so I could kind of play around with it. Press and hold Alt, extrude again, just kind of making like these little sausage legs. You can kind of twist and move around. Wow, it really is like a sausage. This line here, oops, let's select by all. This line here, I'd like to scale it upward. And remember, if I'm trying to make this kind of bottom foot here, well, I can try, if you want, go to, well, hit OK. Let's go to modify and crease, and that just makes a sharp edge. It's up to you. Kind of I'm trying to kind of play at that seam there. And if I want to try to duplicate that more, what I can do is create an edge with insert edge, bring that a little bit closer, something to that effect, super duper. And then let's go back to modify. And obviously, so much of this is going to be back and forth to edit form. And I'm just grabbing by, not just by faces, but by all the things there, because I need to make sure I'm also grabbing the face or the edges. And did that so just so that I can press and hold Alt again and drag. Oh, what did I do? There we go. Well, that looks somewhat unsettling. Let's scale that up. Really, all I did is just kind of made that weird little bump there. So not everything's going to translate, and realistically, that might, instead of trying to make a hard crease edge there, that might have been better to create a pipe on that later, like we did for the duck. And just bring that back up real quick. Oh, was it that one? No, it was that one. What I mean by that is using the line around and adding a pipe tool afterwards. So even that could be a nice way to add detail. That's honestly a really nice way to add like a cut-in detail and such. So, all right, there we go. Super duper. We kind of sort of made a little ducky thing, or a little leg. And it looks like my computer just froze. All right, there we go. Back to edit form. Selecting by edges instead. Select all of those. Drag that kind of, ooh, don't do that. So this might be one of those times of actually switch to by vertex, select those. There we go. Just kind of squishing that in. All right. So it's kind of like a little bell house, kind of like a little bell here instead. Sure, why not? Okay. So hit save. Dino leg. Now the reason I'm making it this way, like I said, is that way I can instead join these afterwards. So first, rotate this into where you would ideally like that to be. Grab the leg, bring up the move tool, rotate it a little bit, and it's fine if it clips in and out. That's actually not a problem at all. All right. So the issue, though, is I want to join these two parts with a bridge tool. So what that means is I need to be able to have faces to join against, or rather, I need the edges of the faces. These are currently two enclosed bodies, so I need to start deleting faces like we did for making the spoon and such. So don't just willy-nilly start deleting faces, but let's try to be a little bit reasonable with this. So look at some of the side pieces. That looks okay right there. Let's see what happens when I delete a face. It automatically turns it more circular. So that actually works to our advantage a bit. So I do need to then delete a face over here. But the problem is I just have one big face and that deletes like everything. So what I need to do is add a little bit of subdivision to this piece. Now there is a tool that is in fact subdivide, but that adds a lot of faces. So if I select there, you can see how it divvies that up into 4 equal quadrants. Obviously, yes, you can drop that down, control a little bit better. And actually, that's pretty much what I was going to do anyway. So, yeah, maybe just try it that way.
Does it not like odd numbers?
You can. Once. You can absolutely do odd numbers. I was just trying to keep it as minimal as possible. Again, the fewer faces you can start with and work your way through, definitely the better. Add complexity as you go. So, all right, let's see where that gets us. All right, I kind of gave a little weird punch out there, but that's all right. Let's see about deleting that one now. All right, still pretty significant, but not insane. So now when let me label this because I'm losing what I'm doing. Leg. All right. So you need to make those, one, kind of match, and also make sure the amount of faces match. So what we need to do here is shrink this leg hole. All right, so edit form, let's just use by edges here. I'm going to double click on that edge so it selects everything. All right. And I'm going to use a scale tool to squish this a bit. There we go. And again, you can, of course, toggle that. Why did it undo that? That's irksome. Sort of kind of to that. All right, that's actually not bad. They're not matching yet, but that size is pretty good. Okay, use that scale. Let's use the orbit tool to rotate that up. Might need to drag that inward a little bit. But again, this is very much just push, pull, rotate, all that kind of thing to get kind of sort of where you need to be. Okay, that works. Let's select this edge, all right, of the leg. Zoom in, rotate up. Now I'm finding I don't want that. That's going to look real funky. So I think what I'm going to do is move the whole leg up a little bit or over, because if I try to drag this over here, you're just going to get some real funky stuff. And honestly, some of this you might find that, you know what, I don't think this really works well. Let's hit OK. And let's also delete that face. It'll just make the whole thing rounded. Frankly, I think that kind of fits the bill a little bit better. All right. So I still need to scale that down a bit. Let's grab by edges. All right. And let's scale that whole thing down a bit, just so we can kind of get those to match a little bit better. All right. That doesn't look great, but it looks okay-ish. Okay, let's try that. Save. Body and leg holes. Totally makes sense. Let's save there, and let's try bridging these together. bring up to modify, and I always lose bridge. There we are. All right, select side 1, double click all the edge. Good. Select side 2, double click the edge. Warning. Edge from one side must be equal to the other. All right, that's kind of what I was worried about. When we deleted that extra face, even though the side matches, or the whole size matches a little bit, we have more faces than we need. Meaning that the body here, let's go ahead and cancel out of this. The body has 1, 2, 3, 4 segments. The leg, let's hide that canvas. That's getting in the way. The leg, unfortunately, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what that means is we have to tweak the body a little bit. And all that means is just need to subdivide it a little bit so we have more faces to match. And all that is by adding edges. So it's slick there. I don't know. We'll try that one. Let's move up there. Let's see what happens there. All right. That added at least one. Let's try bridging them again. Double click. Select over there. Double click. Same warning. I didn't add enough division. Hood pups. All right. No. Let's do one more. I'd say in this case, it doesn't really matter where. We're just gonna try to chop this up a little bit. Go from there. All right, this is getting kind of out of control. My adorable, simple dinosaur, but there we are. Double click edge 1. Double click edge 2. Unable to bridge periodic to non-periodic. Cool. All right. So now it's just saying that it's just too complex. That is okay. All that means is we need to kind of make these match a little bit better. All right. Back to edit form. In this case, I'm going to use vertices. And just because this edge is so wonky here, this hole, I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. So I'm going to grab by one vertex, just kind of drag that into place. Down here, I mean, that might even do it already. Just trying to move some things into position a little bit better. Let's try that. Go to bridge again. Ugh, now what? Where'd my error go?
Whatever.
Apparently not. It had an error and then it went away, so fine. Let's minimize faces. Only one in between. Let's see what happens. That looks like it's about to do something funky, but we'll find out. What's the problem?
For now.
One of the T-spline bodies in this does not contain symmetry. Oh, yeah, that's okay. All that means is it's giving me an error because now I have made an attachment over here. My dinosaur leg looks more like a rocket engine. And it's just altered one instead of both. That's all. Yeah, right. Yeah, making a mega dino. That's okay. Ultimately, I'm not messing with that because what I'm going to end up doing actually is just I'm going to add the features onto one side, and then I'm just going to delete everything on the other side, half of the dinosaur, mirror the two, and join it all together. So, all right. Took a few extra steps, but that's okay. Realistically, what I probably should have done was instead of trying to cut a hole in the side of the kind of tube shape, I should have probably cut it in the front here. But there we are. Okay, so bridge joined. All right. So in this case now, little dino arm. Okay. For this one, let's make a little dino arm. So we'll go back, use edit form. In this case, I'm going to do some extrusions. All right, so it starts way back here. I don't know how well it's going to work. Let's try it out. Selecting that whole face, press and hold Alt, drag outward. Going to give it chicken wings. This is turning into some kind of nightmare Jurassic Park thing. So all I'm going to do here is just try to make this a little more circular. And that's just so it makes it a little bit easier for me to work. And then just keep working around in different planes. So you can't really rotate as well here. So let's do an Alt extrude, and I can drag it forward. That is unsettling. We're rapidly losing adorableness. So when you have a thing that totally just wants to hug you, slash hug your soul away. God. Um just trying to do your best here. There we go. Yeah, it's not really helping, is it? All right. So in these, again, I'm just playing with scale, up and down, all that kind of thing. One more detail. Oh, that is creepy. Sorry, the screen keeps jumbling all over the place. As I rotate the cube around, rotate my view cube around, it jumps around on me. So if you finally, you know what, this just really isn't working for me. I don't like how this face, it looks, all that. Just hit OK. And you can even just delete this face and it's instantly going to turn more tubular, sure. But you can always then go in and cap that. So meaning like for here, if I want to just work with just that edge, go back to edit form again, switch to edge, select that whole bit there. Let's orbit above. Let's try to rotate this into something slightly less of a concerning shape. There we are. Scale that down a bit. It's just long. The arms are just way too long. There we are. That's less horrifying. All right. So that works. Okay. And what you do from here, just go to modify. Excuse me. And fill hole. That's the tool. Fill hole. So it's going to basically bring it right back to what it was. But you have a couple of options here. And you can just cycle through them as you like. You want to fill star, reduce star, that didn't change it at all. Collapse, whatever. Kind of sort of the same thing. If you hit the checkbox here, keep crease, it'll keep that edge sharp. Totally up to you. Hit OK. Whatever. Now, the one thing I did want to add on here is my image does have little kind of sort of toe or kind of sort of fingers. So I'm going to, well, cut up this face so that I can extrude this slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the subdivide tool there. I do actually want to use that here. I always lose it. There we are. On that face, let's dial it up. Let's see here. Length, let's say 3. Yep, that ought to work. Great. So that's going to kind of square it up a little bit. That's all right. We can always tweak that. But the reason I'm doing that is I grab edit form by face. And this time, yes, it is fine that I am only selecting those faces and not the edge between. When I press and hold Alt and extrude, now figures, this time it actually extrudes them all as one. All right, so do it individually. And yes, right now it's kind of more claw-like and less adorable, but we're going to fix that. Select all the faces there. Let's scale those down a little bit. Still turning kind of claw. Problem with the scale here is I'm working them all as one, and it's twisting everything around. So you run into that, you might have to just kind of untwist them individually. Like I said, this is not an animation rig program or anything like that. We're just trying to kind of do the best we can with the tools that it allows. Jeez, wherever it just grabbed there. There we go, select there, and let's just kind of make that slightly, well, that's turning it more claw-like anyway, isn't it? I think the more I work it, the worse I'm making it. There. Dino loves you. Totally. Yeah, it's, I don't know, more or less terrifying, somewhere in between.
I do like how it looks about like the photo just looks pink now. Behind it, so it just looks like it's plastered on his face.
Yeah. It's mildly unsettling. But we're gonna use I'm gonna use the emboss tool to add those details. So let's try to unrocket engine the legs here. Yeah, I know, right?
I don't see that.
Nope. You know what? No, we're gonna leave it. That's totally got rocket engine legs. Let's, you know what? It's my adorable dinosaur. I'm gonna do what I please.
Dang right. My duck has booty teeth.
There you go. I hope that's on the recording.
Oh,
All right. So like I said, I don't want to go through, I don't want to have to deal with attaching all of this, all that kind of thing. Oh, I see what happened there. The symmetry got pulled out of alignment.
that's weird.
So, it is what it is. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened, but anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the entire side of the thing and delete too much. So let's Control Z that. So what I need to do probably is clear symmetry off of this. Select all that. There we are. The line went away. All right. Now let's delete half of the entire project. Poor little critter. Now, I don't know why that little bit there is off. So let's grab those. Okay. Cool. So what I'm going to do to fix that, and not just make it like it's a unfortunate split in half dinosaur, go to symmetry, and I just go to mirror, duplicate, and not mirror internal, because that just makes what you already have symmetrical. I need to make the entire second half. And this just works exactly like the mirror tool we've been using all semester. So select there, body, the whole thing. My mirror plane is the plane. And there we go. Rocket engine toy. Make sure to select the weld, that's weld vertices, so it actually joins the two parts together. Okay. And we have our rocket powered dinosaur. I did also want to show you how I think a good idea to make the spines would be. So what I could do here, and making them symmetrical might be kind of problematic. Oh, actually, no. We'll do it a different way. What we'll do here is, instead of joining this together right now, I'm going to make, let's see. Sorry, I had a different idea in mind. Basically, what I was originally thinking, I was going to use the insert edge on both sides and basically just create more edges along the spine and then extrude those out. But I think instead what I'll do is I'll make a single spine, and then once we finish the form, I will use the pattern on a path tool to make multiples of the same, because this way I'm not going to make them all the same. So let's cancel that. And yeah, I'll make just a single little spine, put it on the top of his head. Let's see, what makes the closest amount of sense to make this? Maybe just a plane that we thicken. Sure. All right. So right there, make a little kind of sort of squarish thing. That's all right. Sure, that works. And let's delete a couple of vertices. Makes it roundy. Select the whole thing. Move it all up. Actually, that's probably pretty good right there. And we have used the thicken tool. And let's make that go sharp, soft edge direction. Yep. Let's say 1, or let's say 2. The problem is that's only going to go one direction if we do that. It'll get it kind of sort of the idea, but not quite. So let's try something else. What we could do is possibly go to the same, but let's try what the extrude tool does in this workspace. So let's make sure to do it symmetrical. Select the whole body, all the things. Let's try a 2mm extrude. No, I want that to go symmetrically on both sides. There you go. Kind of sort of roundy. Not bad. Let's try front faces. 2. Nah, that's too many. Leave it just as 1. Simplify it a little bit. Embed symmetry. Sure. Let's go ahead and make sure that's symmetrical on both sides. Sure, that works. All right, that's kind of sort of what we want. All right, hit OK. I think the only thing else on that one is, well, I can't delete these faces here and join it because that or bridge it together. That's gonna be a problem. But what I can do is look, we can make that bottom a little bit flatter. So let's crease all that. There we go. Okay, that works pretty well. And then I'm going to select this body and I'm just going to move it inward a little bit. So it's actually clipping through the object. Hit OK. All right. I think that, oh God, that looks unsettling. Hit OK. All right, no errors. We're good. So let's save there. Exit form. All right, so my idea was for making multiples, select the path tool or select the pattern tool, pattern on a path. I want to select that body and my path. Let's see if it'll let me select this edge. It will not. All right. Okay, so all that means is I need to create a face here. I need to create an edge. I can either just draw a line or I could try to use split body or something like, or not split body, but split face. So let's see here. We'll try to split these faces along there. My splitting tool, yeah, would be the origin. I can't get at that, so let's select that. Just need my origin. All right, there we go. Hit OK. Great. That just created that line for me. That's all I needed. Okay, let's go back to pattern on a path. Select that object. My path is that line. So let's select all the way down. There we are. Nice. Okay. And let's see here. Directional, identical, blah, 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 blah. How many of these do I want? Yep. I need a lot more little dino legs. There we go. Now, you do need to make sure that instead of orientation identical, we need it to be identical orientation path direction. That should rotate it. Nice. Okay. That actually works really well. Yes, I'm surprised by that. Looks like it might need one more. There we go. Not bad. Okay. So there you go. So sometimes the tools that you need aren't always completely within the form environment. You can certainly build outside of that too. One other thing I want to do here is I'll save that. Let's see here. Spines on a path is show you how to make the little indentations and such for like the rosy little cheeks and a little adorable eyeball. So with that, we would just do a sketch, but we don't want to put it inside because we're going to use a emboss tool. So let's make a construction plane floating out in space. Doesn't really matter where. Okay. And make a sketch on that plane. And just going to make a circle. Close enough. And then we'll make a little adorable amorphous cheek. Great. And why not make, just for grins, make a couple little spots and such. Okay. Hit OK. And this is where we would just use emboss and all of that such. So emboss, sketch profiles. You do have to do a lot of these one at a time, unfortunately. Faces, I want it to be on that face. And just it's basically extruding just on in the round. There we go. Sure, 2 millimeter extrusion out or emboss outward. There we go. Repeat by right click and bring it up again. Unfortunately, you have to unhide that sketch. I have to do that a few times. Sketch that one. Faces to emboss, all of those. And in this case, I want to, oh, it's bogging down on me again. I want to deboss. What's going on here? Why not? There we go. Why will it not let me? Adjust sketch profile, that sort of thing. What is the problem? Why will it not let me? Being a jerk, that's why. Don't know. Let's try a different one. Let's try sketch profile. That one. Faces, same deal. No error. I wonder if it's just because it's too close right there. All right, let's do a -1. All right. Probably a little cheek sketch might just be slightly too close to the other one. Don't know why that would interfere with it, but there we are. And all I'm doing is I'm just using the emboss tool to do it, make like just some little indents on here, so that as I add feature or as I add appearances, why does it keep doing that now? I can put like little spots and such on that. So let's go back and adjust that sketch, and I'll just move that that element around a little bit. Just move that slightly further away. See if that fixes the problem. Okay, finish sketch. Come on, come on, come on. Might have too much open. There we are. And emboss one more time. So that profile onto that face. There we go. It was just too close, that's all. All right. Now, the one thing is you will have to repeat this for the other side. That's all right. Let's hide the canvas so we can see what we're doing. Save. Emboss tools. Okay. And the last thing on this would be to join things together and add appearances. So I'll switch back to regular mode, shift in. Let's grab some appearances. Oh, let's see. Fabric. Ooh, green. Hey, perfect. Green fabric. Green fabric dinosaur. Nice. And we'll make some little red fabric ones. Now, this is over the whole thing, so don't forget to switch to change to faces only. And now I can apply my spots and such just to the faces. So like little inset, there we go. And sure, we'll get the yellow ones for the inner spots. Don't forget, sometimes the faces are not completely lined up. There we go. Great. And then we'll switch to like, I don't know, paint. Sure, we'll also have metallic flake eyeballs because that is just fun. Okay, there we go. Now, again, what I haven't done yet is add any fillets or anything like that, nor did I add stuff to the other side. And of course, yes, I still do want to add color to these. So I can bring the appearance tool back up again. And let's say, oh, let's use metal flake for all of those. And I'm just putting that onto all of those. Ideally, I should be able to select all of these individually, or sorry, not individually, but all combined. Sometimes that works. Sometimes, there we go. Sometimes Fusion is kind of finicky to not. But okay, there we go. That's my rocket-legged plush dino. Now, ideally, yes, I'd like to put a few more details and such into that. We might even add a little party hat to him. But the main aim is that everything is joined together. Now, right now, I have not yet joined the bodies of the main body and the spines, but we should definitely join those together so that it's all linked together, as well as the eyes and such. Definitely need to add like the fillets around to those to make those rounded out and all of that. So you definitely need to round all that kind of stuff out. Don't just leave them as direct cut-ins and cutouts, all of that. But that's how you can join legs and stuff like that and make some of the features. So worked our way through a couple problems. Couple issues still rise up, but don't forget that you don't have to create every single feature within the form environment. We can absolutely create stuff outside and make modifications with the regular tools we've been using. So have fun. Hopefully, ideally don't make nightmare creatures, but whatever you want to make, more power to you.